My best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow, I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt a glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven had found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. My best friend to 23. I heard the heavens crying above me. They gained an angel, I lost a friend. I felt like dying again and again. I went through hell, stared at death, but I keep fighting with each living breath. I saw no way out from where I stood. Felt like the fire had burned me through. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend.
Inside your self-righteous symphony, I would rather let this go.
What's going on, you guys? You guys are crazy in chat. First of all, I'm sitting back here trying to get ready for a live show to make a great live show for you guys. I'm looking at chat, and all I see is Jeff and Paul equals Smothers Brothers. And like Paul's apparently a fish. He's a perch. You guys are hilarious. Good pre-show stuff. Good warm-up. I like the warm-up.
Everyone knows I would be a white bass.
Very much so. All right, you guys, it's Thursday. We're back. It's another episode of the Burly Fishing Podcast Live. We're so excited to be here with you tonight. Thank you for sharing another Thursday night with us. We appreciate you guys. We love talking to you. Even though you do weird stuff in chat, we're happy to have you here with us. And we're happy to have our special guest here with us. It is the second guide that we've had on the show, but he is arguably the OG guide from the area. I got to give that up to him. And he actually looks, if you guys think about this, if you go back and look at the other episode, I always mistake him for Ted, the other guy that we had from Flat River Outfitters. You guys look so similar, man. But we've got,
that's true.
It is very, when you're both in the boat, I'm like, who is who? But you guys, we got Tom Werkman here from Werkman Outfitters. Tom, how you doing tonight, man?
Hey, doing great. Just got off the river a little bit ago, and I was looking forward to this podcast.
Fantastic.
But did you get a sunburn?
I did. Well, my wife makes me wear sunscreen, so no, I didn't get a sunburn. But you can tell though from my hands, I'm like kind of white here, and my hands are tan. So
yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So we got to settle this argument. What SPF do you use for your sunscreen?
On my face, she bought me 115.
Whoa!
But normally, if I buy it, it's like about 30 is what it is.
There we go.
Don't give up to big sunscreen.
Don't let big sunscreen win, you guys. 115 is a scam.
115 so much. I'm like the whitest dude on the planet, and I run 30, and I never have a problem unless I'm in like the Bahamas.
Yeah, we got like, well, Paul has a prep that he goes through every time we go on a trip. He like gets ready early, and then he just cakes it all over, and then he hits the water, and usually he's good for like most of the day. And we do like one re-up maybe throughout the day,
just on the tops of the knees.
Yep.
SPF 30. If you get the blue bottle Copper Tone Sport, and you do the rub in like first thing in the morning, like first thing, like get like before you even get out of bed, first thing, and you let
his hammock.
Let that get in there, dude. You will be good for. It does not matter what's happening. You're good unless you're on like the surface of the sun. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, and then you can keep that bottle of SPF 30 for 10 years, and big sunscreen loses, and that's what we want. All right, so hey, you guys, we got a great show lined up for you today. As always, we are excited to talk to our guests. We got a lot of awesome questions for Tom, and I'm sure he's going to share some amazing stories with y'all. So before we get into that, you know the deal. Here's the intro. Like, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Share this live stream right now with any of your fishing friends that have any interest in fishing, or just want to hear two guys banter with their guest and their amazing man behind the screen, Shaz, while drinking beers, because that can be entertaining as well. So invite them in. The more people in here, the better these shows get. The better these shows get. That's what we're going for. We do have a giveaway tonight. Actually, I'm sorry, we have two giveaways tonight. So I want to first announce the giveaway from Tom. Tom is actually donating a half-day trip, correct, Tom?
Yep, half-day trip.
Half-day trip, guiding up here on, I guess, whichever amazing body of water you want to guide on right now, but around us in the Grand Rapids area, I would assume, right?
Yeah, and depending on what they want to fish for, and depending on the time of year, steelhead, salmon, bass, pike, so yeah, no blackout dates as Capital One may have, but yeah, so yeah, whoever the winner is, they can just get a hold of me.
That is awesome. So guys, for this one, we're going to run it the same way we ran for Flat River Outfitters. So we did a donation for that, a super chat, if you will. We do offer super chats right now. If you guys want to run a super chat, it helps us out of the show a lot. Helps us buy the gear that we unbox for the show and test and review for y'all. And hopefully you enjoy that. Like and subscribe. You can do a super chat. By no means do you have to, but if you want to qualify for this very valuable, amazing trip, half day on the water with Tom, any amount you super chat puts you into a raffle, which will run, Chaz will run at the end of the show. We're going to spin a wheel. We did this with our members only live 2 days ago. I was like, I just podcasted. It's been 2 days podcasting again. So every super chatter tonight, you get entered into a giveaway. So you'll have very good odds to win that trip. I mean, anything you put down. So Just so you know, that's on the table. Second one, you do not have to super chat for this one, but just be here till the end of the show. We will run a giveaway for a $25 Monster Bass gift card. As always, this show is sponsored by Monster Bass, our amazing sponsor who delivers us tackle every single month. And if you guys want your own bag, then you can use the code SAVE15. SAVE15. You go to monsterbass.com and order that. But we're going to give away $25 to monsterbass.com so you can order, I don't know, maybe a Burly hat, Burly shirt, or a tackle, I guess. If you want tackle, there's tackle on the site too. And look at this. Chris Shue throws us a winky face, a little 99-cent super chat donation. There we go. So right now, Chris Shue has a trip.
He's got it unlocked.
Shue, don't let Shue walk away with this, you guys. Come on now. So yeah, throughout the show, we'll keep track of that. Chaz will keep a list of everybody that enters the super chat so we can run that giveaway at the end of the show. New members, welcome G Moorhead 459 to the Shark Deucer crew. Thank you for joining the memberships. And Pima 623, who upgraded to Snorlax because he was on our members only live, and he popped on and talked to us because if you guys don't know this, when we do a members only live every single month, which our members get invited to, if you're on the Snorlax crew, you can get on with us on the podcast live and talk to us. It's a ton of fun. So Pima, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for your awesome questions. And thanks for upgrading. And I'm done now, Paul. So you may proceed with
great.
The rest.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is our little icebreaker. We call it the Q of the D.
Oh, here come the super chats.
Here come the super chats. Let it rain, guys. So
Terrible at fishing, thank you. Matt Verbus, thank you.
So there's no wrong answers. There can be less right answers, but there's no wrong answers on these ones. So Q of the day today is what is, in your opinion, what is the best comic book villain of all time?
I think the best comic book villain would have to be Thanos.
Ooh,
Yes.
good choice. That's a good pick.
I'm a huge Marvel fan. I watch those over and over and over again. Because the best part is, I can come home, fall asleep on a couch after a guide trip, and I can wake up and know exactly what's going on. So yeah, yep.
I love
We've got that's a really good one. Chris Shue just said Shredder, which I think is like a sleeper pick for like a phenomenal one. The Condiment King. Someone said Carnage.
Carnage was a good call out.
Also, I like Venom better. Venom better.
Carnage more anti-hero. Cool. If you say villain, I think
You're right.
Carnage. If you say anti-hero, it's a whole different conversation.
That's fair. I think mine. I'll give mine. I think mine for sure, and I don't think it's close as the Joker.
The Joker.
So, dude, that guy's just horrific, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair pick. I was gonna say Carnage, so I do want to Big J Fishing. Great call out. And if you guys haven't seen the new Venom 2 trailer, check it out. There is Carnage in that. I think the movie is called Venom 2. There will be Carnage, or Let There Be Carnage, or something like that.
Yeah.
Pretty good one. I like the Shredder call out. That was pretty sweet. Thanos is good. I honestly liked him better in the movie than the comic books. And then I would say who's all right, DC Comics, but Darkseid, who has like those laser eyes, the Omega beams that are like unblockable, and he kills everyone.
So he's the DC version of Thanos,
basically. Pretty much, yeah.
So good.
Or I would say, if you guys want like a crazy comic book, if you want to just nerd out one time, read a comic book, check out Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Yeah. And that Deadpool is considered evil, so I would say Deadpool in that case.
That's pretty.
See, Invincible is freaking nuts. That is, I did not expect that cartoon to go the way it did. But yeah, if you ever read the comic books, you would expect that. I didn't read those comic books, so I was like, what's this new comic series? Holy cow!
Doomsday's a good one. I think Bane is like a lot of people's, even before the Batman series.
Sure.
It's always super legit. Man, that's a tough one. And I just feel like I like DC villains in general better because they just like do more truly evil stuff. Like they're just actually horrible because they're so much darker.
But like Jeff Lauer says, the Juggernaut. but I would say only from those like YouTube videos where he's like, I'm the juggernaut. You can't stop me. I'm the juggernaut.
Like Red Skull or whatever is always kind of like, yeah, like I
Man.
didn't like, okay, you know, okay, like
The squirrel
Bizarro.
from Ice Age.
Yo, that's good.
Squirrel from Ice Age. Oh my gosh.
All right, so that was
Homelander.
our icebreaker. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I might have to. I think my next QOTD might be like worst place to get a sunburn.
Fair. Nowhere
That's
forever if you
because
were
I was just thinking
115.
about that. Like, man, there it kind of depends on like how severe it is. But
Right?
we need to get into that one later. All right, so
Shit.
Tom, can you give us a quick breakdown on just how long you've been guiding, and then where you guide out of?
Sure. So, Workman Outfitters, my son and I, Max, we started this about 4.5 years ago. So this is really we're moving into our 5th full year, is what we're moving into. And so he during the summer months, I pretty much guide for the smallmouth and the pike. And then when he comes back, I'll do steelhead as well. But when he comes back from Alaska, he guides up there basically from May through November. Then he'll pick up the steelhead trips. We pretty much guide on our primary river, or our home waters, is the Grand River. And so we'll guide on that, and then some of its tributaries as well too. And then depending on where, the time of year, pretty much with the steelhead and the salmon, you'll find us up on the White River, running that system as well too. It just depends on how the runs are, with migratory fish. They come and go as they please. And one year they come early, the next year they come a little late. So those are the primary rivers that we fish on. We're starting to explore some new water as well too, or at least I am, for muskie. We're really not offering those trips right now. I don't know it well enough, but that's one thing that we are starting to explore here coming up. So you may see that coming up in the future.
Okay, so I gotta that's like opened up a Pandora's box of questions for me. But before we do that, so what were you doing? Because this is relatively new. So what were you doing? How did you kind of transition out of whatever you were doing before, and what were you doing before?
Yeah, so I'm still in it. I'm a banker, so I still do that as well, and I'm slowly transitioning out of that as things continue to grow and expand. In time, my goal is to move out of that. And my son and I own the business together. We have a pretty strong bond. We work pretty well together. He does a good job of working the business, working the business, and I do a good job of running it and working it. And so it's just fun to be in business with your son, develop him along the way. But I'm still in banking, but slowly transitioning out. My wife and I have kind of agreed on an end date, and it's a little ways away yet, but we're definitely planning for that right now.
My
That's
son would
awesome.
be terrible. He's 2, so
Worst business partner ever.
I will say this. He loves to touch the fish. So he's got a good foundation, but he's got a little ways to go.
Is that a role that we normally have in the boat? Is that like a co-angler's role? They can just touch the fish?
Can you please touch the fish
toucher.
and let it go?
Fish toucher. Touch the fish.
He's good at throwing snacks. So man, owning your own business and being sort of in that transition phase, and then sort of having a family as well, having your son be sort of in it with you has got to be pretty amazing. What sort of gave you the confidence to go ahead and say, I can see how you get like the financial planning side of it, right? Like you have a good understanding of like probably, I'm assuming, some sort of personal finances, right? Being in somewhere in banking, right? Better than average. So that piece, like I can kind of get how you're like, what, I can find a way to make myself independent, right, of this job. But how do you go and be like, what, I'm good enough at fishing to be a guide? How did that switch get flipped?
Yeah, so and that's a good question. My son grew up fishing. I mean, he came out of, when he was born, he had a fishing pole in his hand, and as a matter of fact, his mom and I got when his mom and I got divorced. The first, we sat down with him and told him, and one of my sons started crying, and then Max looked at me and goes, "Does this mean we can fish more?"
Oh
Yeah,
no.
we can fish more.
So he gets it.
So he gets it. So he's fished
He's on board.
He's on board, and so he's fished all of his life. And so,
Nice.
it's interesting, Paul. On the financial side of it, I don't come from a lot of money, and I don't have a lot of money. And so what I have decided to do is pursue more of a lifestyle wealth. You hit a point. I mean, I'm 51. You hit a point in your life where there's more years in front of you there's more years in back of you than there is in front of you. And then so you just start looking at things differently.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to be known for? What's your passion, and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of the impetus for this. And so to answer your other question, I grew up fishing. I spent a lot of time fishing on lakes and rivers and stuff like that. But usually there's a saying, you want to fish your way into guiding. You don't want to guide your way into fishing. And I kind of did it backwards. My son is doing it right. There was through a series of unfortunate events, we ended up starting this business together, and it was really to help him, give him opportunity. He had always wanted to be a fishing guide, and then some things happened that he and I were involved in together, and Werkman Outfitters was born out of that. And so I learned a lot from him, particularly on the steelhead side. I'm not really the steelhead guy. I do backup trips or overlap trips, and I can find people fish and so on and so forth, and we can get on them, but he knows how to read water. And so that's what makes our partnership work real well, is that he learns from me on how to run the business. I'm learning from him on how to, work the business. So that's kind of the long answer to your question.
So,
Love it, though.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I think that's incredible. And I think a lot of people would look at a situation where you feel truly like kind of in tune with your business partner who is also your son and be like, that's something that I could get behind. I mean, I know just as a dad, I'd be like, I know I would not be fun to work with. And if I felt like that was the actual situation, I'd be, well, that would be incredible, right?
But I think about it like as, for us, fishing takes us away from our family right now because we have obviously very young kids who, as Paul pointed out, would be terrible coanglers, are terrible coanglers. My youngest daughter just throws rocks in the water where I'm trying to fish specifically. And if it's not rocks, she throws her fishing pole in there. So, I did like a fishing video with my kids the other day and they're like, why don't you get your daughter a better setup? And I was like, because she throws them in the water. She doesn't want them. Like, why would I do that? But yeah, that's cool that you guys get to be together for that time and like have this like this common thing in your life that you get to share. So that's awesome, man. I like it.
And it's not, we've had our arguments. I remember when we bought our jet sled, I wanted a tiller and he wanted a forward console. And so we went back and forth. And I said, look, pal, I'm paying for it. We're going to get a tiller. And so he walked away all mad. We didn't talk for a few days. And then he calls me up and finally calls me up and he says, I have one question for you. And then now depending on how you answer it, my piece has been said. And he goes, have you ever driven a jet boat before? That's a good point. No, I haven't. So we ended up getting what he recommended, but we worked through it. And I think that that's healthy tension to have, together with things. And I think we both respect one another enough. And I think with being a dad, you're just a little more patient with at least for me, I'm just a little more patient with him and all my kids. So
Yeah.
Oh, good.
You mean than some like dude that you have to work with on a daily basis?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think so. Because I've been in some business partnerships, and those are much more difficult than working, at least for our relationship with Max and I. And I don't pull the dad card by any means. He's an owner as well too in here, and he needs to have a say. And we sit down, at the end of every year and kind of review it and have our little planning session on what we want to do and accomplish. And he comes up with some pretty good ideas. He's pretty common sense, and we kind of gel, which is nice.
I can see myself. I think the difference maker would be when my son would say something, I could at least figure out why he was saying it. Probably, like I would know why. when some other dude or gal or whatever, my business partner said something, I would find myself constantly just being like, why? You know what I mean? And like that would get me to the point where I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to ask myself a why anymore. This is awful.
Yeah, yeah, and we drill down. We ask why. You know, I remember saying him one time. I said, you know, a little planning session. I said, "What's the biggest risk to our business?" And this was like a year after we got going, and he didn't know what to say. And I'm quiet after I ask the question because I want him to think. And he goes, "Climate change? No. Like we can't find fish for our clients? Well, yeah, okay." And he goes, "I don't know." I said, "What happens if I die?" He goes, "Man, I'm screwed." So, you know, and so
Yeah.
now he's, you know, that was when he was like in it like 20, and now he's 23, and now he's asking me, "Okay, Dad, what's a debit and a credit? What's a journal entry? Let me do it." So now he's starting to figure out what's search engine optimization. You know, so now he's starting to figure out all this stuff, and that's where it starts to become fun because now we can start to do a lot of strategy stuff together.
Nice. I like it.
If my son asks me one of those things, I'm gonna tell him what's the latest version of Google and why aren't you using it?
The latest version. Have they updated Google yet?
Well, it's got to be
miss
called
that?
something else. But I love it. That's really cool, man. I think that's a really special thing. So your son's out west right now, so he's splitting time. What's he doing out west?
So he's up in Alaska. He guides for, he bounces between Naknek River Camp and Katmai Trophy Lodge. And so they're on the Naknek, and there's three river systems up there: the Naknek, the Negushniak, and the Alagnak, and they get all 5 salmon run species. And on top of that, there's char. Their rainbow trout on the Naknek are the size of our steelhead down here. They're just huge. And so a couple years ago, I went up there with them. I spent 2 weeks with them. And when I came back, my wife said to me, "So how was it?" I said, "You know, I don't know if I feel 30 years younger or 30 years older," because I ended up staying in the spike camp because I knew all the guides. And so it was a ton of fun. And if you ever get a chance to go to Alaska, it is incredible. I mean, hundreds of thousands of salmon migrating. It's incredible.
That's awesome. That sounds so fun.
I would not know whether to fish or hunt or just hike. It'd be very challenging to eat. 2 weeks just seems like it would be less than the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing with being a guide. You know, I mean, you're not going to you're not going to get material wealth, but what you're going to have is lifestyle wealth. I mean, the stories that he tells and the travels and all of that stuff. I remember early on, I'd say, "Oh man, send me pictures. You know, I want to see pictures." So he'd send me pictures when he had Wi-Fi and he got into like an area you could get it and all that stuff. And at first I was like, "Yeah, man, that's my kid." Now he sends it to me and it just pisses me off. It's like, yeah, I want to be up there too, but yeah.
Right.
No, I love it. That's phenomenal. That's amazing. But it's also one of those things too where you look at. I can imagine. What's that Kenny Chesney song? "There Goes My Life" or whatever, where he's like, he always wanted to go out west or whatever, and then his kids ends up going out west. So it's kind of like one of those things where you found a way to provide that for your son. I think that's a really special thing, and it still might piss you off, but I think secretly you're probably like, "Go me."
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he's pursuing that. There's no animosity there whatsoever.
Yeah.
I said that jokingly, but yeah, I couldn't take more pride in him and all my kids. You know what they do. So yeah.
I love it. We got a lot of dads we got a lot of dads who are fans of the show, so we got to hit that. I want to make sure to get into that a little bit. I think that's really, really neat. So when you guys are guiding, are you doing like exclusively fly fishing or are you doing conventional? What's that balance look like?
Probably about 99% of what we do is conventional. If people know how to fly fish, I'll take them. But if you don't know how to fly fish and want to learn how to fly fish, your best bet would be to go to a place that has that can teach you fly fishing. So yeah, 99% of it is just spin gear. conventional gear, and that's just kind of the way that this business has evolved. We thought it would start out with fly fishing, but I don't have the time, or for me, just personally, I mean, the patience to do it. I do fly fish personally, but to teach people, that gets hard to do.
Real quick shout out super chat from Angel Saavedra. What up, fellas? Congrats on the baby, Paul. Congrats, Paul. You had a baby? How'd it go?
I had a baby last week.
You didn't even share the story with everyone. That was on our members only. We gave the play-by-play on the members only. Maybe if we have time, we'll do it later.
we can try and do it at the end or something. It was it was Fast and Furious, and I almost had to name my kid after my truck because she was almost born in the passenger seat, and I'm not exaggerating.
What did we Dodger?
Yeah,
Dodger Glass.
Dodger Glass.
Dodger Glass. I mean, there's still time. I'm just saying.
That's right. I don't have to sew yet. I mean, anything's possible.
Haley, we good? We good? Okay.
I'll like open the door. What?
What?
No, so one question I have. Oh, thanks, Angel. I appreciate it, man. When you're running conventional gear, so whenever I think about like a guide and they hand me a rod, right? I always look at the rod and I can see the balance between the fact that they have to go buy that rod and that reel, and they have to stick it in your hands, right?
Yep.
And you got 12 of them or 10 of them or 5 of them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys typically running in the boat for gear? Are you running bait casters? But you talked about mostly spinning gear, I think. But what's your go-to for the smallmouth?
So we do just entry level rods and reels, because eventually somebody steps on them. I remember saying one time to somebody, I said, okay, I'm going to play dumb. Have you ever fished before? Yes, I have. Okay. So I give them the rod and the reel. And I remember this, and the first cast was right into the Grand River. I'm like, you haven't fished before, have you? No. I said, okay, you be honest with me. I'll be honest with you. And this will work out great. And so we don't spend a lot of money on it. I mean, they're more entry level price points, but our go-to gear, I like a lot of the TFO spin rods. I like those a lot. I think that those are great rods. For us, we use medium heavy in the Grand because you got current, and those smallmouth bass, you get one on with current, it's going to dig, and you need the backbone that's in there. We use spinning rods, again, kind of, entry level price point stuff.
And you're not picking, you're not cleaning up birds' nests all day.
No, and we're not cleaning up birds' nests all day.
Mm-hmm.
When I go personally, I use bait casters, and those are much more difficult to teach a client how to cast. And so that's pretty much our go-to stuff. For line, I like the high vis Power Pro, braided Power Pro, 20 pound. A lot of times I'm just tying it right down to 20 pound mono leader is what we're using, and then depending on whether we're finesse fishing or throwing spinners or jerk baits. I mean, that's pretty much that right there is pretty much our setup right there.
So got a question on reels, but real quick, thank you to Chris Shue for the super chat, man. $5 super chat. You are the best. You are the OG, my friend. Love your background pick of the yak, Tom. Serenity. Your favorite new lure you're excited to fish this year? Tom, Jeff, Paul, and Chaz. I guess we all have to answer that. Then I'll ask you about your reels. But okay, so Tom, favorite new lure? Something you haven't fished before that you're excited to fish this year?
Yeah, so we just started branching out. We are making our own muskie and pike lures.
Yeah.
And so we have prototypes. Actually, people have told people they're only prototypes, but they've bought them. Okay, we're not 100% sure this is going to work, but they bought them.
I'll take 10.
And some of the people I've gotten, they've landed muskie and pike on them.
Nice.
I haven't had the full time yet to do that because we're exploring the muskie water. That's one thing we want to move into is muskie fishing. We've been fishing some muskie water, but it's not to the point where I can really offer it with confidence. But that's my bait the new lure that I'm really excited to try out.
Yeah, I love it. What kind of musky lures? We know nothing, but we have several now because people have sent them to us. I say we, I guess I mean me because Paul just gave a face. So I know nothing. What kind of lure are you throwing?
So we're throwing kind of that tweener ounce range, anything from about 2.5 on up to about 3.5 ounces.
Hmm.
Pretty much number 8 blades. And I like to mess around with the clevises. So the clevis determines how fast the blade rotates around the backbone of the inline spinnerbait. And so we have anywhere from a number 9 clevis to a number 6 clevis. And the higher the clevis, the slower the blade rotation. And so depending on water conditions and the time of year and all that stuff, you may want a slower blade rotation. Then the lower the number, the faster the blade rotates. And so we mix and match colors. That's the thing with being able to, custom make them.
Hmm.
We do that, and we mix and match skirts and all of that. And so, it's just something that we've just started getting into a little bit.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. We just unboxed a bunch from our buddies over at Midwest Warriors, and they sent us, what was that, 3, Paul? We had like two
giants
inline,
and then one big like fire red spinnerbait.
yeah, like a double-bladed spinner with giant Colorado blades, like all with heavy streamer stuff, and like it's cool, man. I can't wait to throw them around. I've never thrown musky lures. I just got like my first swim bait setup that's actually capable of throwing things like that. So it's a whole new ball game for me, but it's exciting, and it's just so cool, like how vastly different like that and even like swim bait and glide bait fishing is versus the normal conventional bass stuff that I'm used to. So that's what I mean, for me this year, that's what I'm most excited about is like all these musky lures that Midwest sent me. I gotta pick up one of your prototypes, I think, Tom. I think we'll have to do that. Throw that around.
Yeah.
And then some swim baits and glide baits that we've been slowly accruing. I can't wait to get those out on the water. What about you, Paul?
Man, that's a really good question. Actually, that's like a super good question. Initially, I was all about the big baits just because that's kind of what people are getting into this year. And I think it's kind of like I don't know, I'm just sensing that there's a lot of people who are interested in that because it's, I don't know, it's cool and it's fun to watch. Um, they're not that much fun to fish, unless in my experience, they just aren't. I mean, you just get skunked a lot of days, and which is not great. So, I mean, I'm excited for that, and I definitely want to get down. But I think what I'm most excited about is I have now, as of like the last 3 or 4 months, there's like a collection of 6 cents medium to deep diving crankbaits, a lot of
Mhm.
different sizes, and I'm a crankbait. I just love fishing crankbaits. It's kind of my jam. So I got a couple of those. I'm really interested in. They all have different. A lot of them have different treble hook sizes. They all go to the super upsize. So I'm really excited to actually try and get some of those out in some hot water. That honestly, if it was just me fishing for fun, I'd be looking forward to that. And legitimately, just because it feels like it's been 200 years,
Yeah.
any top water, my word, like I just feel like it's been like 100 years since I've had a top water hit, and that would be really, that would just make my soul happy.
So I just caught a few on top waters yesterday, you guys, and you'll see it in the video tomorrow. But I was pretty stoked about it. First top waters of the year. It happened. And it went down on a lure you wouldn't expect. Um, you'll see. All right, so Chaz.
Danny the Duck. No, I'm kidding, Paul.
You
I'm
freaking
kidding.
would because
No, I'm kidding. I'm
Matt
kidding.
Burbrus said that too.
Yeah, that's why I said it. Actually, the Bud Light swim jig I got from Super
Oh, the
K.
Bud Light swim jig.
Yeah.
Yes, Super K. I love it. Good call out, man. Also, thanks for the super chat from Michael Long. Speaking of Midwest Warriors, that's our boy right there. He ties all our lures, and he painted us the dopest Whopper plopper that is like half ice, half fire. It's like
Oh god.
a black base paint, and he did like blues on one side and reds and oranges on the other. And it smashed on Instagram, you guys. Like a lot of people like that post. That was
Dude,
good.
I'm holding on to this crappie jerkbait right now. Actually, if I can get it untangled from this whopper plopper without stabbing myself, and this was my favorite out of the bunch
Do it. Stab
for
yourself on
sure.
live for the views, for the
Watch
people.
me. Yeah, look at that. How
Oh yeah.
freaking cool is
Yep.
that?
That's from Midwest as well.
Jeez.
Yep.
I love that. It's awesome.
Juicy.
All right.
Biggest jerk baits we have.
Oh, that's freaking awesome.
You know
man.
what's interesting though, Paul? I mean, you bring up with those bigger baits that you use for, supposedly the bigger pike and the muskie. I mean, with those, you're going out with intent. I mean, you're
Yeah.
hunting is what you're doing. You're covering water and you're just hunting for those things. And you're right. I mean, you're going to come back, defeated, more so than you are, feeling like you're having success. But
Yeah.
to your point, those things work. They do.
And you learn. You learn.
work-
That's what I'm excited about.
You do, but here's my if I had 3 days a week to fish, I'd be all about it, and it wouldn't be a question because I'd be burning 30% of my time.
Yeah.
I have 1 day a week to fish, maybe, and you're burning 100% of your time, right?
Yeah.
And for what we do, in this super minuscule part-time, business, I don't have the time to torch right now. I mean, that's the bottom line. Is like I just do not have the time to torch. When we go and we're trying to get better at it, but full transparency, you're trying to squeeze out 1 to 2 weeks worth of content every trip because there may be a trip where you get none. And I'm
Or
gonna have
3 weeks where you can't fish.
There's 3 weeks where you can't fish, and all you're gonna get is
Yep.
cool pictures of baits that I have in my office. Wow, and I mean I like that. I think it's cool that people like that and whatnot. But it's you gotta be super duper efficient, right, with your time
Yeah.
when you're doing it as a part timer. And just like when you're a guide, right? If you got a half a day,
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
burn 3 hours trying to find your spot or get to your spot.
Yep.
Yep.
It's not gonna work well for you
Yep.
or your guests, right? So.
It,
Yeah, that's my only thing, right? I mean, and I'll be honest with you, if we were at my cottage on St. Clair, yeah, that's all we'd be doing. I would burn my 3 hours in the morning doing that all day, every day,
yeah.
and I wouldn't even think about it. And then the rest of the day, I'd probably spend trolling and eating sandwiches. But it's just, you're not out there, so it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna save some of those things for when we finally can go there, because it'd be the easiest place to learn and build confidence in a place where it's easy to do it, versus hunting muskies on, a lake by us that I won't name because people will get mad, but there are muskies on it. They're just really timid and they don't like to bite very often. Yeah, it's interesting. Like we mentioned on the show before, our tactic now, because our super part-time job is to make content for the YouTube machine. And there's this level of like selfishness. So I want to ask you this about guiding too, because this interests me. There's this level of like selfishness where you're like, I want to get on fish, and the same for like when you're taking your kids out fishing, but then when you're getting paid to do it, right, Tom? It's a little bit different too. For us, we go out and we make content. It's like, yeah, I got to get this video, but at the same time, I kind of want to just like fish the Ned rig and put fish in the boat. And I have to like slap myself on the wrist now and be like, no, you're doing the content that you specifically set out to do. Stop like deviating from the plan, and just deal with it. So how do you kind of like manage that as a guide where you're like, I'm not putting a line in the water and I have to put this person on fish and they're not fishing the way I want to fish sometimes. And they're just like throwing my entire combo in the water at times. How does one manage that sort of, I'm a highly anxious person.
Yeah.
I would freak the heck out. Like I don't think I could do it. So how do you manage that?
So the one thing that's nice with smallmouth bass and pike is your presentation is very forgiving, and so they can be dragging that Ned rig way in back of the boat, which is not good because then you're just going to get hung up on structure logs a lot and so on and so forth. And so so what I usually do, I have, when clients come in the boat, I typically tell them, look, have you fished before? Have you fished this? I try to get a general understanding of where they are with their fishing program. And then I tell them, I say, look, I have a rule of 3. I'll tell you 3 times. And after the 3rd time, if you have questions, ask me questions, because if I go to the 4th time, then I'm just being a nag. And so I don't want to do that. And so, if after 3 times they're still doing it wrong, every now and then I may say, hey, okay, this is how you want to cast. This is where you want to cast. And usually what I find is that, a lot of clients are very timid, and they're afraid to get hung up. and they're afraid that I'm
Yep.
going to get mad. And, and the thing with guiding is, I mean, I'm a very patient person. And that's what you have to be as a guide. You just got to be patient. And I'd say to him, look, you got to get in that structure. So we're throwing, let's say, MEP spinner blades, for
Yep.
example. We're throwing MEPs. I said, you got to, that thing has to hit that log or just be inches from it. And so, you know, then they overcast and then they get stuck. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, that's okay. You know, that's okay. You're doing exactly what I'm telling you to do. Now you're getting there. Now what I want you to do, keep, you know, your rod tip up. You know, you want to see that, keep that higher in the water column. The fish can see it. And so, you know, you just become patient with people. If you don't have patience, you don't be a fishing guide because you'll lose it.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you there. That's it's funny that you bring up maps and like the crazy thing to me is the amount of people that I meet that don't fish a maps, believe in a maps, don't like understand it. They look at it, they're like, this thing is dumb, and it's been catching fish for literally ever. Like those are so amazing in the rivers around us. I can't tell
Yeah.
you guys how many days I've put like 25 fish in the boat because of the freaking maps. Like that's all I end up throwing.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if it was you or Ted that coined this. Maybe he picked it up from you, but the midday MEPs.
Yeah.
Is that one of you guys?
Yeah. Yep.
Who's
Ted and I talk about that, you know,
yeah.
midday maps. And I mean, for me, you know, when we're out on the river, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I don't
Mhm.
overcomplicate things. We're either throwing Ned rigs or some creature baits, or we're throwing MEPs, or I've been really enjoying the Vibrexes lately,
Yeah.
which is Rapala's version of the MEPs,
Nice.
or we're throwing, you know, stick baits.
See,
Um,
I like the Panther Martins because I feel
Yeah.
like when you're waiting, I keep way more fish fishing downstream because they use an extra wide gap hook,
mhm.
Yeah.
and they have a slightly smaller blade, and it makes all the difference in the world when I'm waiting. But when I'm fishing from a boat, I'm fishing upstream a lot more often, and I always want to have the longer profile and a tighter hook set that I get with the MEPs. Um, it's interesting you call out the Vibrax. I started messing around with those and Rooster Tails back when I only used to wade fish,
Mhm.
and Rooster Tails for trout, I feel like is a cheat code.
Hmm.
They're,
Hmm.
because the paint jobs, I just feel like, and maybe it's that little tube shape. I catch 10 times more fish on a Rooster Tail, the mini one. Have you ever seen the one that has like it's almost like a weather vane top. So it's like two-sided, and there's like two
Mm.
little circles on either side of the top instead of one spinning blade. It's like it's like a two circles like across, and then they're bent back.
Hmm.
That is like a trout cheat code because you can work it unbelievably slow, and it doesn't matter if it's wet, it's spinning like at all times.
Mm.
And they
Yep.
make them like pinky nail size.
Yep.
Those things are a absolute. I would give that secret away to anybody that wants to learn how to fish because they're actually kind of hard to get hung up because the trebles are so small. I think they're like an 8 or a 10. I mean, they're tiny, and you can't fish them wrong. That's really good.
Yep.
That's a good call on the Vibrax. That's a little bullet weight one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Those things they come a little heavier.
Yeah, they do. You know, we're fishing 4s and 5s. You know, and
Yeah.
again, I try to keep the colors as simple as possible. I don't have, so when I go on a guide trip, I got a Yeti Go box. I throw, you know, on one end, I throw, you know, basically, you know, you're like on the finesse baits, something black, something that's, you know, pumpkin seed, something that's a little green, and that's pretty much the three that I rotate out. Maybe like a peanut butter and jelly one that's there. I think it's called that. And then on the other side, I've got, you know, just, you know, half a dozen or maybe a dozen stick baits and about a dozen or so, you know, Vibrexes or MEPs, and that's just pretty much our tackle. I really don't have a lot of tackle. I'm not really a big tackle guy. Like I said, I just try to keep it very, very simple. And we find tremendous success on just that simplicity. Now that's just what we use. Other people may use different things with it, but I don't have a lot of room in my boat for a lot of tackle. And so, you know, we just try to keep it as simple as possible.
I think simple is great, especially if you're you're running into people who are not super experienced all the time, right?
Mhm.
100%. And and especially if you're getting hung up constantly. And the thing about a MEPS that I learned early on was if you're not getting hung up, you're not fishing. I mean
Exactly.
that's really with the MEPS, that's the thing. And they are unbelievably, for being an open treble hook, they
Mhm.
are unbelievably like not hook uppy. Like
Weedless.
unless you get into a
Yeah.
tree, I mean you're the occasional rock, but like that's it. They do not hook up very much. You can run those along a log for a couple seconds, and it'll be like second 3 or 4 before you finally like hook that log. I mean, those things are unbelievable.
Yeah. And I got to say too, the one thing that we have been doing a little bit more of this year, this has been an interesting fishing year. Mother Nature has not been really cooperating with the fish, is
Mhm.
bait. And so we've been moving to shiners. And so when that fishing really shuts down, we just go old school, and we use hook and bobber, and we go with shiners, and we're finding a lot of success when as that water stays cold, or a cold, if you're on the other end of a cold front, and it just shuts down. Yeah, the bait has really been working very well for us.
Nice.
What kind
That's
of
smart.
bobber?
Old school white and red bobber, baby.
Only you would ask that.
I
Only you
would.
would be like,
I
excuse me,
have,
sir, I would like to know how you are keeping your line afloat.
bro, I
Everybody's
have
like
so many
freaking
bobbers
bob.
because I bobber
You
fish.
also would.
I bob. I've got plastic. I've got wood. I've got composite. I love a pencil bobber, but
Yep.
pencil bobbers don't work for everything. And I've got slip bobbers and float tubes. I've got it all because I was actually just doing this with my kid. I just posted this on Instagram yesterday. I was worm and bobber fishing, drifting open hooks for creek chubs, and I was having just as much fun as he was.
Yeah.
He just wanted to hold the
Freaking
fish, and I just
blast.
wanted to catch him. And it's like it's the man. There's nothing like it. And I know all these guys who fly fish want to talk about indicators, bro. That is a bobber. Don't bring that over to me. That's a bobber. And there's nothing wrong
Uh,
with it. It's phenomenal, but you are bobber fishing, my guy, and that's
excuse
not
me,
fancy.
sir. You will call it an indicator.
Yeah, we can fight about it later.
speaking of MEPS, David Ellers would like everyone to know, because he brought this to my attention the other day. Maybe you knew this, Tom. You can donate your squirrel tails to MEPS, and they will give you credit towards their tackle. How dope
Yeah.
is that? Like, so if you like hunting, you want to go do it. I mean, there you go. That's pretty
Yep.
sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, cool, man. Like, good insight. I didn't ask you this earlier. Totally forgot. You mentioned rod and line. What kind of reels do you rig up on those bad boys?
So presidential series. We're really into that. I mean,
Yep.
you pretty much, so depending on whether we're fishing for steelhead or we're fishing for smallmouth and pike,
Yeah.
that line is a great line. Yeah.
Nice. So the Fluger President
Yeah. Yep.
for
The Fluger.
everybody. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. The Fluger Presidential Series. We
Nice.
did use some Daiwa for a while. We still like those.
Sure.
We're using like the 2500 series for the smallmouth and the pike. You're up into the 3000, 3500 for,
Yep.
For the steelhead. And you can use those for the salmon too, but we're probably in the 4000 for the salmon.
Yep.
So.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah.
I love those Daiwas are rock solid, and one of my favorite things that I like about Daiwas, even like the lower end ones, come with a pretty dang heavy duty bar across the top.
Mhm.
You throw enough spin cast setups in your truck, and you get one of those dented, and the whole thing's useless.
Yep.
Both of those, that's exactly what happened to both of those that are sitting up there. They just lived in the truck, and they just got one too many dings in them, and they don't hold line the same way, and it is so frustrating. And so for me, I stopped buying those Shimano's. I used to run like Sierras and all different kinds of like not like the super high end ones, but like the mid to low level ones. And they were small; they weren't even big. And I stopped buying them specifically because they would get dented all the time or bent, and you can't bend them back. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe I'm not like I need to be in like metallurgy or something, but like I cannot bend those back. But I got a couple here flugers, and they're like kind of on the higher end, but they're the micros. I've had them for years, and they've had the
Yeah.
tar kicked out of them, and none of them have bent.
The one thing,
Daiwas, none of them have bent.
the one thing I like about the flugers is I think it's got a little bit, the Presidente is a little bit better drag system on it. I mean, not that you have to worry too much about it with smallmouth and pike, but particularly with the steelhead, we just, we like that drag system a little bit better.
How do you like set expectations with steelhead on landing them? Because you're not gonna, just so people know, if you haven't fished steelhead, specifically more fly fishing, but like you don't land every one that you get.
No, and this year was not a very good year. I mean, the numbers are just down, in Lake Michigan, and so, that's a good question. It is setting expectations, particularly if you've never steelhead fished before. That's more. I mean, that's a patience game, because it's like you only had so many opportunities this year, and if that bobber goes down, that was your opportunity, and if you can't set. Or if you're not, if you're trying to bass set it, and it's just it becomes hard, and so you just be as patient with you can with people, and in that instance, you're saying, okay, look, this is what you did wrong, because now you're going after a game fish that you have to hunt, that you've got to search for, because they're here one day and they're literally gone the next.
Yeah.
And so, we use beads, and we use bobbers, and we just float fish in the runs, and, you just try to set the expectation ahead of time. Look, a good day right now, when people call to book a trip for steelhead, a good day is going to be one or two, and you're going to have a few opportunities, and we're just setting that expectation. Don't come out and expect to catch 10, 12, 13, 14. The numbers just aren't there right now. And so, yeah, you just try to set the expectation on the front end of the trip.
Jeff and I did a guided trip for salmon. So even very much so, not you're not going to have a high number day, even like in the prime of the season, right? I think our guide was impressed in some ways and very underwhelmed in others, because we are bass fishermen, and we did not have to his level of, like, we were casting well, but to his level of expectation of what we were going to be able to, like, the sensitivity level to the bobber, he was not enthused with at all. Like he was fine, but there were times where I could tell he wanted to, like, throttle us because he got us on fish. And I could tell, and I mean, I felt pretty good, because Jeff, I mean, how many strikes did I get that I missed? But I was close and I was on them, but I would even hook up, and maybe I didn't get way up high enough, and I was like 6 inches short and didn't get the leverage for a set. But I got into some, but I could tell he wanted to throttle us a couple of times.
Yeah. Mostly.
Yeah. And some guides are like that, you get they'll yell at you, like, oh man, he just missed the opportunity and all that stuff. And as a guide, you got to learn how to read the client and do all that.
Oh, we were good. He put us on fish, and we did really well. We got into some walleye and some other stuff too. We had a good time, and it was a tough day. But yeah, I could tell there were a couple fish where he was like, he wanted to do good on us, right?
Oh, okay.
And he was like, come on, like, son of a.
Yeah.
He did straight up take the rod from Jeff though at one point, and then, like, first try jacked a 25 pounder, and we were like,
me a fish.
Ouch.
I mean, I just got to reel it in by hand. We had
by hand. It was unbelievable. That was an amazing experience. What kind of boat do you run?
So we have 3 boats. We run stealth crafts. We've got.
Well, you got to tell people what a stealth craft is. Not everybody might not automatically know what you're talking about.
Sure. So stealth craft we have a jet sled, a 16-foot jet sled which has a jet engine on the back. It's 60/40. It's fiberglass. It has, not to get too technical, but it has a Plascore interior. It rows great. The Plascore flexes. I can tell you a story on that here in a minute. And then we run a skiff, a drift boat skiff, same thing. It's a fiberglass boat with a Plascore interior, and then we have a row frame raft for the skinny water, or when the water gets really low on some of the intimate waters that we have. But I've been pretty impressed with Stealthcraft. Max and I were fishing up by the dam for steelhead one November, and the engine died. So we were getting a tow back, and we were coming up to this trestle bridge, and it has goofy current because of the pilings that are on there. And I said to Max, the guy couldn't hear us. I said, get the knife out and cut the tow, cut the tow rope. And he's looking at me like, what? I said, we're hitting these goofy currents. And it was too late, and we smashed the boat up into the piling. So the front quarter of the boat got smashed. The gunnels and the whole boat flexed in, and then it popped out, and I ran to the back to make sure that it didn't swing around and hit the engine. And it was so much force with the current, it's like, oh my gosh, it's gonna hit the engine, and thankfully it didn't.
Oh man.
And so I said, I literally thought the boat was gonna sink, and so Max ran up to the front and looked at it, and he's like, holy cow, you're not, I mean, he didn't say holy cow, there's a few expletives. You're not going to believe this, but we're fine. There's just some cracks in it. And so, that Plascor flexes, which is really nice. So they're solid boats. And so we use those, as what we do.
So awesome. You guys are running motor drift boats in some cases, and then you're working the sticks for a lot of the day on the river.
Yeah. Drift. Yep. Yeah, yep, a lot of days. So basically, I mean, that's pretty much what we do is, we depending on the time of year, for steelhead, we're running around a lot and bouncing around a lot. For smallmouth and pike, that slows down a little bit as the months go on and the water warms up. We're not bouncing around as much. Mm-hmm. But then, pretty much all rowing is what it is.
People need to recognize that too, because I think a lot of people, even on like the Betsy and the kind of like more popular waters up north. Yeah, there's a lot of rowboats there, but there's a lot of skiffs, and people they don't drift. They just take the motor up, right? And then they drop anchor on a spot because that water's a lot deeper. The Grand River gets, Jeff, how many times have we had to walk the kayaks upriver in June? Every year. All the time we're tying the boats up and we're walking. So yeah, and it is the way to go too, because you get a float like that long, and if you get someone who's really good working a drift boat, you can get a couple casts at a spot even when the water's running pretty quickly. But you also get 10 times as many spots because you get a nice clean drift, and even when there's other boats out, it's really easy to just go downstream and hit the next spot on a place like the Grand.
Nice. So real quick from chat, we had Brian Newland had a question. And by the way, guys, hit us up in chat if you got questions. We'd be happy to answer them. And you can ask us anything. You can ask Tom anything you want. And if you super chat, you can get entered for a chance to win the half-day guided trip with Tom at Workman Outfitters. So keep that in mind. But good question here. Hello, gentlemen. I have a question. Yes, you do. What is a great go-to bait for bass fishing for kind of a beginner? Thank you. And I think Alexander C., thanks for the assist here, brother, with the Texas rig. I agree full on. Like, all I did was weightless Texas rigged worms yesterday, and like was just getting mauled by bass. They were just going freaking nuts. So you really can't go wrong with the old stick worm. Throw a Senko of any sort, Texas rig it, try it weightless if they need it to be presented slower, or throw some weights on there. I mean, good go-to. Any other suggestions there, guys?
They're real cheap,
keeping
man.
it simple, right?
They're real
cheap.
They're really inexpensive. Like, you can fill a backpack with those for like $40. Like, I mean, literally, I'm not exaggerating. Like, you could literally fill a backpack. They're pretty inexpensive, and they don't need to be super high quality. I mean, you could literally get one color. You could get green, just any version of green whatsoever, and there will not be a day that you don't have the right tool for the job. I mean, you're in the business. I mean, crankbaits are great. You can get some cheap crankbaits that'd knock them dead too. I mean, you go get some Ozark Trail ones from the old Wally World, as Devos likes to say, and you can just knock them dead some days. But the Senko is better.
It takes a little more work. I'm saying if you're like kind of a beginner, I'd stick with the worm, dude, all day. 100%. And then Andy Ramey, our boy here, mentioned wacky too. Yeah, 100%. Like, now's the time too, going into the summer. So awesome. Good tips.
But you got to get one frog.
You
You got to get one frog. You got to get one frog. I'm
I
telling you
mean,
right
just
now.
throw the dang frog.
Spro, go get a Spro. Go get a Booyah Pad Crasher. It will make you want to buy all the other frogs. So go get a
Yep.
frog. You won't be upset,
Yep.
and you can't fish it wrong. So and they're very weedless. So that's my other one for you.
I mean, you can fish it kind of wrong. Like, just put it in the nasty stuff. Put it in the nasty stuff. If you throw it on land,
Just do this.
kind of fishing it wrong.
You want to hit Sean real quick?
Oh, we got another one? I was
Yeah.
just moving back to show notes. Oh my gosh, look at that. Super chat from Sean Lai. Thank you, sir. What is a good way to start drift bobber fishing for steelhead with worms? Do you have some specific shot patterns you use most? So Tom, you're all over that one.
Yeah, we really don't use worms. You know, when we float fish, we primarily use beads. And as the water gets colder, then we'll start using spawn. You know, because you really got to get the spawn in front of the fish. But so typically, what we use raven bobber on the Grand. We'll use raven bobbers. You know, 11 or 15 gram bobbers. Depending on the stain, we'll probably run, and we're running, you know, mono. We don't use braid. We're running to the leader. We're using 15-pound mono. A lot of times we're using straight 15-pound leader or straight 15-pound mono right all the way through. And so, you know, we move the depth around, and what's nice about the 15 grams is you know, we use split shots going down, and so you want to convert the grams to ounces, so you get the proper buoyancy of that bobber. It gets a little technical because if the fish feel any type of tension on that bobber going down, they'll spit it out. And so we use beads primarily. You know, depending anywhere from, you know, we use 8 mil, 10 mil, 12 mil beads. We've even thrown a few 14 mil up there, just as an attractant. When we go down to the more intimate rivers like the White River, typically we'll drop the grams down to maybe an 11 gram bobber. We'll fish smaller beads. Usually we fish 2 beads in a row. Usually about, you know, we fish, you know, those beads will probably be about, you know, 6 to 8 inches apart as a trailer bead. But that's kind of the setup. It gets a little technical, but just we haven't really dunked worms for steelhead.
Nice. Hot tip. So there you go, Sean. Hopefully that was helpful. Let us know if it was, and give her a shot next time you can.
The end of the day, you need, I like a slip bobber, but you don't even need that. You can use any bobber.
Yeah.
Just keep it off the just off the bottom, as close to the bottom as you can without getting snagged every time. Have a little bit of weight, but not too much, just enough to keep the weight down there. And at some point, you'll get lucky. That's it. I mean, that's if you're a beginner, that's it. The other thing I will recommend on worms, pink worms are my favorite. When it comes to just easily getting bites, I find that pink and white are my go-tos. So that's not even for real worms. That's for when you run out of real worms, because you get hooked up a whole bunch of times on not fish, and you're gonna lose those worms. So either, you know, spend your $60 on worms, or just go get some fake worms.
Jay Fishman says you'd catch more using an indicator over a bobber.
That's like that's like having a Type R sticker on your window. That's what using indicator is. You get 15 horsepower from that, I hear.
Absolutely. Yo, Michael Long has a question for you, Tom. I know you're just getting into this, so I don't know how well you can answer this right now, but you're learning stuff. So he wants to know, question, best time to muskie fish. Best time. I don't know if it means season, day, etc.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily go by the type of season as much as it does the water temperature. And so usually, generally speaking, and we have caught muskie, I have caught muskie on the Grand, but it's usually when the water temps start to hit about the 60s. The activity slowly starts to pick up, but then when it starts to hit when it hits 70, you really don't want to target them because they're going to get stressed. way too much. But usually, you know, spring, you know, early spring, when muskie season opens up, you know, actually, and on inland lakes, I believe the rules are it's immediate catch and release, right on through to the fall. But you know, for us, anytime right in between there is when we've caught some muskie on the Grand.
Nice.
And the
Sweet.
river's a totally different monster. People
Yep.
that catch muskie in the river, I know it kind of seems like it might be easier because they're like condensed. I don't think it is at all because you can't really troll for them and it's not nearly as effective. And I find them to be way more finicky and definitely harder to actually bring in. So doing it in the river, you have my respect. 100%. Yeah, 100%, man.
I had a guy from Australia. He was throwing Rapalas, and he says to me, "Oh my gosh, the fish just followed my Rapala," and I'm like, "Okay, you know, I didn't see it because I was paying attention to the other guy." I said, "Cast back up there again and see what happens." And all of a sudden, it came back again, and it came to the boat, and I'm like, "Do you know what that is? That was a muskie." And he's like looking at me because he's from Australia. He's going,
What
"Okay,
the hell is that?
yeah." I said, "Cast back up there again." And so he cast it back up there again, and all of a sudden, then it took, you know. And so I'm like, "You got a muskie on,"
Wow.
you know. And so we ended up landing it. We took a quick picture and released it. And what's interesting about where we fish on the Grand River is, so a buddy of mine, he's a big muskie fisherman, and I posted a picture, redacted the background a little bit. And I says, "You got to talk to Jay Wesley." And Jay Wesley is the Lake Michigan Basin coordinator for the DNR. So I sent him the picture, and I'm like, "Hey, Jay, I caught this on the Grand." I said, "Are you guys planning muskie up where I am?" He said, "No, we're not, but we think they're coming over the spillway of the Thornapple, and then starting to make a population up there." So that's really fun and nice to see. And, you know, he said as more people start to catch them, we'll probably send a team of biologists up there to start figuring out what's going on with them. So, yeah, they're in there. They are in there.
That's awesome.
Oh man, I'm so glad.
What a nice catch to come up from Australia.
Yeah.
Because that guy
has
seen. He's now seen our largest game fish, and he's now like, "This is it."
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, he came
First
here to
time
fish.
out. Okay. You know,
Okay.
He walks away with you know the top apex predator.
And he's like, "Man, we got bigger stuff than this in my bathtub." Yeah, I mean,
what they do.
we had a really good friend of mine. He's from South Africa, and he lives here now, and he went fishing with Jeff and I, and he'd never been bass fishing, not a big fisherman, but like he's done some fishing in his life, and he has experience in Africa fishing for things that live in Africa, which are all 1,500 times the size of what we get. And he comes over here, and this dude, we get on this pond. We're in the middle of nowhere up north, like way up north. Jeff and I have never been here. We start fishing out of our kayaks, and he's using like my, leftover rig and my secondary boat with my leftover life vest, and he's just, he wants to catch gigantic fish, right? Like he's like jacked up for that. And I keep telling him, like, dude, these bass are like 16 inches. Like these are minnows for you. Like, don't get pumped. He reels in probably what probably ended up being the largest fish of that whole trip on the third cast on a spinnerbait, and no idea what he was doing. Didn't even know he was holding it like this. Like the mouth is like here, and he's got the bottom of it like right in the front like this. He has no idea what he's doing. I have a picture of him. This thing is giant. It was probably, it was probably a 5-pound fish. It was a big fish. Yeah. And he's just like, "Hey, look what I got." Chucks it back. I'm like, "Bro, like, come on." And he just has no, like, his basis for comparison is
like, and then like catches
nothing for like 2 days.
for the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
You're like, see, you shouldn't have put it back. Like, hold it for a second.
Max had a guide trip on the Grand, and up near up just down a little bit from the dam, kind of out in front of the JW. Mm-hmm. And so they're floating back in there during steelhead, and the guy lands a 26-inch brown trout, lake run brown trout. And so Max is going, "Do you know what you just caught?" And the guy's like, "Yeah,
nope.
Well, I was hoping for a steelhead," and goes, No. This is the trout of a lifetime that you just landed.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just don't understand because they don't fish all that much. And,
Yeah.
over time you just hope that they educate them more and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a lifetime achievement award right there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you get a guy from Florida coming up here and he catches a couple 6-pounder and he's like, good day.
Yeah.
Right. Dude, I enjoy when people are like, "Is this good?" And you're just
Yeah.
like, "Is this good? Is this good? Okay. All right."
Check. We're done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Matt Verbust would like to know, Tom, what's your favorite dad pop?
My favorite dad pop? I would have to say an all day.
Oh, you
Hey.
have to though.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm having.
All day IPA. That's my
Yep.
favorite. Followed closely by bourbon.
The dad pop that doesn't come in a can. Love it.
I love it.
That doesn't come in a can, right?
Good
That's
answer.
awesome. Also, I love that we didn't give you any context on dad pop because it's universal language up here, people.
Papa Pops, Polite Pints, we got them all.
Andy Ramey, I want to point this out because Andy Ramey brought up a good point. I am excited for this, Andy. Tomorrow, Hobie is making a gosh dang announcement that's going to burn my pocketbook.
Are you excited?
No, but yes, also, I want to know. So over under, you guys, tomorrow, Hobie announces the Hobie Pro Angler 540 or 720. Possibly 1080.
I have a feeling it's gonna be some version of an autopilot.
Gosh dang it. Gosh.
I
dang
do.
it.
And it won't be adaptable and it'll piss
Yep.
you off.
Yeah. You guys want to they'll come out with a cooler. They already have one. They have a live well. If you guys would like an auction for our Hobie 360s, we will be running that to raise funds so we can buy a Hobie 540 with autopilot. What else could it be? Like, what the frick?
It's
gonna
gotta be
absurd.
motorized. It's gotta be motorized. That's my guess. That's the only place that they're lacking and haven't done anything yet. And I don't think it'll be a new type of pedal drive. It took them a long time to. I hear what you're saying.
Took forever.
Tom, are you familiar with the Hobie kayaks that are out there?
Yep. I used to do some, before we really got into guiding, I would kayak the Kalamazoo for steelhead. Float down, stick in some hot and tots, and then turn around and go back up. And so, caught a lot of steelhead that way.
That's awesome. So cool.
Even a thunderstick now and again. No, I'm definitely with you. Hobie just announced they're gonna have a big announcement. They just came out with the 360 like a year and a half ago, 2 years, not that long ago. For Hobie, that's nothing. Yeah. For Hobie, 2 years, they don't care. They don't care. Time. They don't want to put out your content. They don't care what you think of their boats. They just do what they want. I don't even know they're like Volvo. Volvo's like, bro, I don't care what you want. I'm going to make what I want to make and you're going to like it. I mean, they just do not care even a little bit. So maybe they will. I'm wrong all the time, but I do think it's probably going to be some sort of, it'll be some sort of electric drive.
I mean, the post picture that they used was like a cheetah. Right? It was like the face of a cheetah was the background.
I thought it was a cougar. Was it a cheetah?
Is it a cougar? What would that tell us?
I know. That's what I was trying to figure out. It could be. It could be like they did come out with the turbo fin, so they did mess around. They did mess around with the fins, and they came up with like a faster fin. Yeah. But they may have come up with a way to make that boat a lot faster.
Oh, Chaz. All right. I like this next question you have here, Paul. Let's ask this.
Which one? Oh, favorite part about being a guide?
Yeah. And this
Tom,
and the one after that, more
Tom,
importantly.
you already know what's coming next. What's your favorite part about being a guide?
My favorite part of being a guide, that's an easy answer to question, is building relationships and meeting people and hearing their stories. That is by far my favorite part of it. I had a on one guide trip. So lately now the big thing is can we smoke marijuana on your boat? We've been getting some of that lately, and this will get into the story as to kind of why. And so anyways, guy was coming, and I said, yeah, no, you're not gonna
Yeah,
smoke
no.
on my boat. One, you can't smoke it outside, and so anyways, but if you want to drink beer, that's fine. So anyways, the car shows up at the boat launch about 15 minutes early, and they come out and they're just higher than a kite. And so I walked up to the guy and I said to him, I said, hey, you know what? Today's going to be a great day on the river. And he goes, it sure will be, because tomorrow I go to prison. And I'm like,
Oh
okay.
no.
But even with that, I'm like, okay, this is going to be crazy. And, but over time you get to know even that guy, you get to know him and hear his story and all of that stuff. And
Mhm.
I mean, there's hundreds of stories, not like that, but hundreds of stories that people have. And I just love building relationships with people. That's by far the best thing about guiding.
And you've already mentioned people from all over the world that fish with you. Like I
Yeah.
think you mentioned who you were talking about somebody. Did you fish with, or your son fish with the guys from France?
Yeah. So up in Alaska,
Yeah.
guides for a lodge up there, and they come from all over the place. And
Yeah.
we've had people from England, from Canada, like here in Grand Rapids, England,
Yeah.
Canada, Australia, all over. Yeah. Yep.
That's so cool, man. I love it. That would be fun. That would be fun. I like that. I can't guide because I'm not patient enough though, but it sounds cool. Sounds cool for you. So follow-up question. I like this one better. What's your least favorite part about being a guide?
Oh, the least favorite part. It doesn't happen all too often, but when people you get know-it-alls in the boat, and
Yeah.
they just I had I donated a trip to an outdoor organization, and a
Mhm.
mom won it, and she brought her 12-year-old son, and he came and he's like, yeah, I'm a bass fisherman and I fish bass and all this stuff. And so, I was telling him, okay, cast over here, cast over here. And he said, there's no fish over there. There's no fish over there. So that went on for a little bit, and we were catching fish, and I just said, okay, you want to cast over there, and he cast a couple times. There's no fish here, and I said to him, I said, there's a fish over there, and he goes, no, there's not. I said, okay, I'll make a bet with you, and I said, if I don't catch a fish, you can pick anything out of my tackle box, and you can have it. And he says, well, and I said, and what happens if I catch a fish? Well, nothing. And I said, all right, here. So I put a cast out there. He said, yeah, really did. Nothing came in. He said, see, I told you there's nothing there. I said, oh, wait a minute. I'm not done. Another cast, nothing. The third cast, bam, we pull out a 19-inch smallmouth. I told him, I said, see, I told you there was a fish there. No, that doesn't happen all the time, but it's like,
Right.
I mean, it's just like, and the kid, and I said, and the kid goes, and his mom goes, you better listen to the guide.
That's that's like a 30-second version of like the Chocolate Factory situation. That's amazing.
And then I had a guy one time. It was an older guy, and his dad brought him, and he had Asperger's, and so just brutally honest. And so I said, okay, you got to cast up there. And he cast up there. There's nothing up there. He reels it in a couple of times. He says, huh, there's nothing here. I'm going to cast over here. And I'm like, okay, you can cast over there, but there's no fish over there. He cast over there. First cast reels in a 16-inch smallmouth. And he goes, huh, maybe I should be the guide.
Just set you on fire.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh. Goes
But,
both ways, man.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Absolutely.
And
That's
we're
so awesome.
fishing.
That's right. Hey, but you caught a fish, man. Whew.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Pressure's off.
Gosh. All right, I want to know this. I gotta hit this for the fans here. What is the craziest story that you'd be willing to share from the water? Change names if you have to protect the innocent, but what is the craziest story?
Oh man.
Yeah, or the guilty. Nah, screw them. Use their real names.
Yeah. So I think the craziest story was what we were talking about a little earlier before we went live, which is so I had this older guy call me up, and he wanted to fish for smallmouth and pike. And so I said, okay, here, meet me at this boat launch. And it's always like, I always figure like it's a drug deal going down, because it's like Okay, here, make the deposit. Okay, I got the deposit. Okay, meet me here at this time. Okay, you know, so he shows up. You know, we get all that stuff done, and he shows up, and he came up from Ohio, and he gets out of the car, and I said, hey, you know, change the name, Mike, Joe, whatever. I said, hey, Mike, you know,
His first name's Mike. His last name is Joe.
No, middle name Joe, last name whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
And so, anyways, he gets out of the car and he goes, "Oh man, I'm not doing good." I'm like, "Well, what's the matter?" He goes,
no.
"Oh, I got up this morning and I got blood in my urine." And I'm like, "Oh man, okay." You know, he's probably in his early 70s. So I'm like, you know, do you still want to fish? Oh yeah, yeah. I still want to fish. I'm like, okay. So we get in the boat, we run down, we get to the smallmouth spots, and I start rowing, you know, and we're probably about, I don't know, a couple river miles, 3 river miles from the launch, and all of a sudden he goes like this.
No.
And I'm like, Joe, man, are you okay? Hold on. And he looks at his watch.
Oh
and he goes, okay, all right. And he pushes some button. He goes, oh, okay, I'm okay now. I'm like, what is going on? He goes, you know, I think I was starting to have a heart attack, and my heart wasn't going right. So I hit my defibrillator, and just to make sure things all right. And I said to him, I said, do you think this is something I should have known before? You know, we laughed. He goes, well, I figure if I die out here, I'm dead. It's your problem. So, you know, that's probably one of the craziest things that's happened out there. And, you know, plus the guy going to prison. But, you know, I mean, but that's, you know, that's what being a guide is. You see all this stuff. And that's where I get back to saying, you know, early on, I said, it's not material wealth, it's lifestyle wealth. And I tell you, there's nothing more powerful in this world than a good story. And you have all these stories that just, you know, I can go on and on and on with all these different stories that are there.
I love it. You gotta just keep a journal for yourself, and then maybe also one day to release to the public.
Oh yeah, just, you know, the craziest things of being a guide. You know, there's, you know, it's like there's a book called What the Dog Saw, and I'll just write one called What the Guide Heard. You know, I think a lot of times too, I think more things, you know, I think there's things that get said in a drift boat or a jet boat that would never get said in confessional, you know, and so you just hear all this cool stuff and sometimes not so cool stuff.
Jeff and I can confirm we've had some guys
We've done
where
that.
we don't get to repeat what was said by our guide in the boat.
Which is weird, because you would think it would be like the customers.
Yeah,
we were
especially 'cause
chill.
it's us.
Our guide was freaking nuts on St. Clair. Like, oof. All right, so I think we should run the giveaways. What do you guys think? Yeah. So we got 2 giveaways tonight, you guys. Here's what we're gonna do. You guys, if you've listened to the show before, if you haven't, welcome. What we do is a little rapid fire questions for Tom at this point. If you guys want to enter into the giveaway to win a guided trip, you're responsible for your own traveling. But if you want half a day with Tom, you can come from anywhere. We'd be happy to have you. Maybe we'll, you know, meet up with you as well. I mean, we can you know, throw a little extra on top of this thing if you want to. But come on up here. You can fish with Tom. It'll be a ton of fun. If you do a super chat, you're entered into that one. So last chance to super chat, any amount, you're entered. For regular chitty chat, you guys are doing it already. You're great. You know, just start chatting in the chat, and you'll be entered to win $25 gift card to monsterbass.com. We got pros here, man. You guys are pros. Is Debo here? Debo, what's up, dude? Yeah.
You mean your co-host?
We'll do them both back to back once we're done with rapid fire. Let's give them some time. So chat, last chance super chat, you guys. Let's roll it. Proceed, Sir Paul.
All right, so these ones are pretty quick, Tom. So here we go.
Sure.
Would you rather jab yourself in the finger with a treble, or be responsible for jabbing your buddy?
I would rather jab myself. I'll take the pain.
See, that's what you want to hear from your guide.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude, Paul would jab me all day. Like, I already know the answer without a doubt. And the beautiful thing is, I would jab him as well.
That's so awkward, and
you will be Clip it. Clip it, Chaz. You will also be jabbed, sir.
I love it. All right, so what is the absolute best meal after an exhausting scorcher of a day on the water?
The absolute best meal is it. I don't know if it's a meal, but it's definitely a beer.
100. No, that's
It's a
that can
meal. Can confirm.
I can make a meal out of a beer.
I mean, yeah.
What day is it? All right. What's your favorite fishing scenario? Like if you could draw up a day to be out fishing, what are the conditions like?
Cloudy, a little bit of wind. So you get the riffles on the water. It breaks it up a little bit.
Yep.
You're probably going to have about a 70-degree day. Water temp is probably going to be in the upper 60s to low 70s. That to me is just my ideal time for fishing.
I can tell that would be on the river.
Yep, on the river. Yep.
Yep.
I'm hearing ripples on the water from wind, and I'm like, I quit.
Yeah. I will not be on the lake that day.
I love it. This is one of my favorite questions, and this is how I'm going to start putting it. Do you like to free them all, or do you fry some of them too? Free them or fry them?
Pretty much everything is catch and release, unless we catch a walleye. I will keep a walleye, and we will cook that thing up. That's for sure.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean,
Yep.
not all of it, because I keep like I always have this desire to just like reach back and throw them in the cooler, but I love it. What's your favorite species to catch on the Grand? Personal.
Northern pike.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
I love it.
Northern pike by far are my favorite species.
We agree.
Oh man, after my own heart.
wholeheartedly- Yeah.
Yep.
All right, follow up.
Follow
This
up.
one's easy. Least favorite.
The least favorite is when I'm steelhead fishing, the bobber goes down and it's a sucker.
Oh yes.
What if it's like a 24-inch sucker?
No, it's just, oh man,
Doesn't matter.
It's like cooking Homer Simpson, you know. It's just like, oh my gosh, because the suckers start running and then their beads get in their mouth because you're low, and it's just like, oh my gosh, okay.
It is terrible when you're trout fishing because it's kind of hard to tell the difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the worst, because you just think you got like, oh, I got a nice brown, and then you're like, yeah, I gotta throw this back. All right, last one. This is one. Okay, the best boat shoe as a guide versus the best boat shoe as like when you're out like as an angler fishing hard.
So the best boat shoe. Oh, I really struggle with these. So if we're steelhead fishing, and I'm in the jet boat, and we don't get out, it's probably 900 Thinsulate gram neoprene boot to keep my feet warm. If we are in the summertime, and I'm in the jet boat, I'm probably just going to I got Sims, just wading shoes that I wear, and I put a neoprene sock on them just in case I ever have to get out. So those are kind of my go-to ones. And then otherwise, if it's waders, it's a Sims boot for a wader.
I think I have found like the ultimate kayak fishing shoe. I don't want to reveal it yet because I want to put it on at some point, and they're not cheap, which is kind of bothering me. I love Crocs. They are hands down top of the tops for kayak fishing because there's not a lot of walking. There's not like you have to deal with. Do not like getting out in the water with them. Once they're wet, they'll kill you. I mean, they're out to get you once they're wet. But hard to beat the Croc. Joss, don't bring me the barefoot. I'm gonna get there.
Are you ditching the Croc?
No, but
what do you say?
I might have found a scenario where the Croc will lose.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You haven't even told me this.
Okay, yet. I don't want to. All right. Have you guys ever heard of Danner? Danner Boots.
Oh yeah,
No.
I've heard of Danner.
Big hunting boot company.
Yep. Yeah.
They make a lot of like Vibram soled like shoes. I just actually got a pair.
Yeah.
But Danner makes a water shoe, and I'm looking at that thing, and I'm like, yo, that looks like exactly what I want for probably 50% of the season, other than like the hot days where you want to be barefoot and you're in Crocs. But like other than those days, like probably 50% of the seasons that we fish, this looks like primo premium perfect. Perfect. I'll show you. I'll show you guys later. I'm gonna bring that one up for the next show. That's it. We will let's can we run the giveaways now? That's all I had for lightning round.
Should people win now?
I think people should win stuff.
Let's run the Monster Bass giveaway first.
Ah!
Yo, there we go. Hook the boy up. Greg Whitaker. You did it.
Greg, you know the deal. You just type your email into chat. We will not show it to anyone.
Yeah, or just IG me, Greg, because you do it all the time anyways.
All right,
we'll get you taken care of, brother. He said yes,
Greg,
finally.
you said yes, that's great, but we need the email, my guy. So while we're waiting for that, Charles, can you run Tom's giveaway?
Yeah.
Super chats only, guys.
Who? What? Did you say a name? Saavedra?
Saavedra.
Hey! Congrats, Angel. Say hi. Say what's up. Hopefully you're still here. Maybe.
He's got to be here.
Must be present to win.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's the deal around here. We make a steak for the whole show, all 13 hours of it.
We have not missed one in 64 episodes. Angel, don't do it.
It's been close. We had one where it was like 5 minutes and we had to wait. We got you, Greg. Don't worry about it, my guy.
Yeah. We'll get you taken care of, bud.
So
Angel,
Tom, while we're waiting for Angel, where if people were interested in a phenomenal guide service for smallmouth pike, any of those types of things, where should they go to reach out to you?
WerkmanOutfitters.com.
Now it's Werkman with an E.
Yep, it's Werkman with an E. WERKMAN Outfitters.com. Yep, that's the place to go. You can reach us right there.
I love it. And are you guys hopping right now?
Yeah, it's really starting to pick up. I mean, we're busy. It's
nice.
Yeah, we're busy. So whoever wins, they'll want to get a hold of me right away. So at least we can get something on the calendar.
Yep.
It might not be Angel.
It might not be Angel. He's gonna be real sad.
We gotta give him. Let's give him. Should we do like a 10-second countdown?
Do we have like Final Jeopardy music? Can we do that?
Oh man, we kind of need to bring that in there.
We really need to do it. All right. Oh my
gosh. Charles, let's give him should we give him a countdown? Oh man.
No, everybody else who already did a super chat is like, get him out of here.
I think we got to call it, man.
Yep. All right, Angel. We'll catch you on the next one, brother.
Charles, can we re-roll?
Sorry. Re-roll.
Oh man, I feel so bad.
Gotta have a winner. While we're rolling, if you guys, go check out Tom's website, but also follow him on. Well, there we go. Michael Long. Good, gosh dang. Michael Long, are you still here from Midwest Warriors? All right. I guess we'll do a countdown.
Oh man.
Was it the winner is Paul Glass? Hey, congrats, Paul.
Hey!
We're gonna go on a fishing trip. We did it.
It's Michael Long. Dude, that sounds wicked fun, man. I wouldn't even know what to do with myself.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Could I bring
a bait? He's not in here. Michael Long's not in here.
Yep. Shoot. You guys.
I'm looking at the participants.
That must have been pretty boring, and people just left.
Dude, I think at the hour 10, people are like, getting ready to go to bed. It's Thursday.
We try to run them a little bit sooner, but yeah.
Oh,
he's here!
Oh my gosh, he's here!
Dude, this is perfect, Michael. When you come up here, we do need to meet up because you have awesome baits. Kurt, Greg, hold on and add me, Lowell.
Oh man, Greg over here trying to play.
Greg going the double W. That's
all right.
awesome. Sick.
We want to get Michael, so we can handle that one.
Yeah, Michael, I will write you down, and Tom, I'll get you. Well, Mike, just send me your info, man, and I'll get you over to Tom. All right, we'll get you taken care of.
Tom, you're gonna be thrilled. He's gonna bring all his own baits. You won't even have to bring a box. You can leave the Yeti box at home, my guy.
I just row. That's
That's it.
That's
Just
Dude,
show me where that 19-incher was.
Sounds
right.
like the day. Awesome, man. Congrats to the winners. Awesome job, you guys. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Mike. Donate what? Mike wants to? Yeah, sure. Do we have to re-roll again? Or are you gonna donate it to somebody else?
I think he wants to donate to somebody specific. Well,
Yeah. Hit
let
us
us know,
up.
man. Just hit us up. We'll take
Yep.
care of you.
Yep. We'll work it out. So start talking to me. We'll figure it out with Tom. But yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight, for hanging out.
Yeah,
with
thank
us.
you,
It's been
everybody.
fantastic. Yeah, thanks to you, Tom, for coming out for a great show. And I was trying to say this earlier. Guys, he's on Instagram. He's on Facebook as well. So follow him in all the places. Don't just check out his website, but also definitely check out his website. And if you know anybody in the area, send him over to this guy and his competitor, his terrible competitor, Flat River Outfitters, also from this show. Hit him head to head. Hit him head to head. We'll see who's the best, who survives over in this area.
Go to
But
the
yeah, man.
cage, baby.
Two guides enter, one guide leaves. I love it. All right, you guys. Thanks for another great show, hanging out with us on a Thursday night. You're fantastic. We love you all. Thanks to Tom for being a great guest tonight. And we will be back again Thursday night next week, 8 p.m. Eastern. So come hang out with us again. We're gonna have Paul preview show. Who's next? Who's on the show?
Oh, I think it's Nico Bates.
Nico
I'm
Bates.
pulling up the calendar. Don't quote me here.
We're
It is.
currently
It's
quoting
Nico
you.
Bates.
Hell yeah. All right. If you guys want a great show, again, come back for Nico Bates. They make some pretty awesome plastics. Go look them up. Go check them out. They make some good stuff. I've already fished them a few times. So, yeah, I think it'll be enjoyable. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Do all the things, like and follow and, subscribe, all that stuff. All right, Chaz, take us out. We'll see you guys next.
Took a swing at a wrecking ball and I prayed for my downfall, and I found a way to reconcile, 'cause in my heart it's not worthwhile. It's a bloody battlefield where some go down, others heal. In the end it's all the same. All you can do is play the game. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm sad to say I'm sorry, so lie. Pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day. I'm sick of all these lies. Don't care if I capsize. There's nothing left for me to hide. Don't wanna live a lie. Too many lows, too many highs. Too many things to criticize. And so I leave it all behind. Don't wanna live a lie. Life kept spitting at my feet and forced me down a dead-end street, when all I had went up in flames, burning only dark remains. I cover up every part of my skin, oh, 'cause I don't like the person within, oh. I know I'm the one to blame. All I can do is take the shame. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm too sad to say I'm sorry, so lie and pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day.